Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of the 1-2 with James and Kendrick. I am James Lynch. He is Kendrick Johnson. Kendrick, we finally did it, man. We've been talking for a while about doing a podcast, and today it's happening, man. Let's tell the people how this all came together.
The MMA world is not ready. We've been plotting this for a few months. Meticulous about every little detail, going back and forth. We got the Texas-Canadian connection. Y'all didn't know about that, but y'all going to know about it in the next couple of up-and-coming weeks.
Yes, for sure. And we're coming out heavy swinging here. We got Rashad Evans on the show today. It's an interview we did earlier today. Hall of Famer, Sugar Rashad Evans, UFC analyst, former UFC champion. Really excited. We got to talk to him earlier today, recapping UFC 260. So you guys are going to get to listen to that. Unfortunately, you can't
Great insight.
But we will get it after. But yes, great insight, like Kendrick mentioned. And what is this podcast going to be about, Kendrick? Well, it's going to be an interactive podcast. We're going to do a Q&A. We're going to have one guest on every week. The guest might be live. It might be pre-recorded. Just with how the time and everything worked out today, we decided to pre-record this one for the first episode. But maybe we'll get guests on live. And the other thing is we're going to be doing the show at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time, usually every Monday. But Kendrick, go ahead. You've been saying a lot. There you go.
Big names. We ain't just got it. It's not just MMA. This is not an MMA show. This is not a boxing show. It's a combat sports show. And I challenge you to find a non-Yahoo, non-ESPN show that's going to have this catalog that we working with. We coming out hot. We
really wanted to separate ourselves, so we're going to be covering boxing and MMA. Kendrick is the man when it comes to boxing. I know a few things or two about MMA. We're going to join forces here and give you guys a podcast here every single Monday. We're so thrilled to be a part of this team here. We got to mention the sponsors, though. This show is brought to you by Fast Track, Cannabis Clinics of America, and also Guerrilla Marketing. So they are here helping us support this show, so we can't thank them enough on the inaugural episode of the program here. I know we see some people getting questions in the chat. We got Dan Tom in the chat. He says he's still
shout out to Dan.
Shout out to Dan as well. Yeah,
I'll be hitting you up to get you a guest. We're gonna change you for fan to guest in a matter of a few weeks.
For sure. But we know what the people came here for, Kendrick. Let's tee up the interview with Rashad Evans we did earlier today. So we're gonna put our feet up. You guys can watch this awesome chat we had here with Rashad Evans. We're just gonna bring it up here right now. Where are we here? Let's do it. All right, Rashad Evans, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. We are live with Rashad Evans. All right, we are very happy to welcome on. Sorry to cut you off there, Kendrick. Very happy to welcome on the former UFC champion, Rashad Evans, joining us here on the program. Rashad, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm really good right now. How about you?
Doing well, but I'll ask Kendrick because I cut him off there. Kendrick, how are you, man?
What's up, Kendrick?
Me and Rashad go a long way. Like I was like just barely in this game. He's like, man, somebody look like me, and we've been cool ever since. Tell my man Tyron Spawn, the coolest guy in the game. If you want to go to the alley fight, you want Rashad and Rashad Spawn to have your back.
No doubt, man. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we had the UFC 260 card over the weekend. Let's start with that huge fight. Francis Ngannou is your new heavyweight champion. Rashad, I wanted to start with you first in terms of how that fight played out. Were you expecting Francis to be that dominant against Stipe Miocic?
Well, I knew he worked on his wrestling. And I know he worked on it extensively. He's been working with Kamaru Usman. He's been working with Alir Latifi. And even before that, he's just been kind of rounding out his game. That fight with Stipe really woke him up on a lot of levels. And I just seen like a different Francis from that point forward. And it was a Francis that didn't mind the grinding hours of the wrestling, and grinding wrestling is the hardest thing to do when it comes to MMA. I mean, a lot of people grind in other areas in the sport when it comes to stand up, when it comes to jiu-jitsu sometimes, but just like the whole digging in the wrestling part of it, it's either you got it or you don't got it sometimes. And for Francis to really, put his toes down and really make grappling his own was something that I knew was going to pay off big dividends for him, and it paid off big time for him on Saturday.
The second he got that sprawl in the fight, that's where I knew Stipe was in trouble, because we've never seen that from Francis. He just looked unreal, unbelievable in this one. It was kind of the performance that just after the fact where you're kind of thinking, is anyone going to beat this guy with how dominant he was? Did you get that impression as well, that we might be seeing a heavyweight champion for a very long time?
Yeah, I did. And not only because, just because of the physical prowess that he brought to the fight with the power that we've seen, and just some of the beautiful aesthetics that you see with Francis when he moves and stuff like that, but just his overall IQ with the fight. If you notice when you started the fight out, if you go back and you watched it, he was very systematic on how he broke Stipe down. And I say that because instead of punching to the head like he was in the first fight and throwing those big bombs, he started off at the body. He started attacking the body first, straight punches down to the body, straight punches, not looping punches, but all straight punches down to the body. And he was doing that just in case Stipe was going to shoot underneath him. Stipe was going to meet his fist along the way. So that deterred Stipe from taking a shot. And then on top of that, he implemented a lot of fakes and feints. And those fakes and feints further put Stipe on his heels and didn't allow him to feel comfortable taking a shot because he didn't know when Francis was coming. So then it kind of put Stipe more in the defensive. And then on top of that, he started just touching Stipe, not throwing bombs, but just touching him. When you're a big, powerful puncher, you want to wind up and you want to throw your punches and let the power out. But sometimes, and especially with a case like Francis, you'll be better served with just taking a little bit at a time and just touching. And that's what he did. Perfect, picture perfect. And he got great results because of it.
Look at that excellent breakdown for the Hall of Fame. That's when we got the man on the show as our first guest up on the 1-2. Give me your time on this, Rashad. Do you think Stipe, kind of like I've been telling everybody, I think Stipe and DC retired each other. They left everything in that 3 because that didn't look like the same guy I saw live fight in August against DC. He looked like a guy that's retired, just like I think DC knew what was coming because everybody talk about that big look like this. I think he's like, I'm glad I lost that fight.
Yeah, as far as Stipe, man, it's see, that's the thing about it. It's hard to say that Stipe is done because Stipe can look like that in one performance and then come out and look like a world beater in the next performance. And that's one thing that's a blessing with Stipe's game. He's a great adjuster. He makes great adjustments throughout the fight, and if he gets another crack at you, he'll definitely make adjustments. So I don't know if it was the war with DC, but I would say that war with DC, that trilogy war with DC, did not help him for as far as longevity. If you think about that trilogy, it took a lot out of Stipe. You know, the first fight he got knocked out. The second fight he was on his way to get knocked out, and then he started digging to the body and found victory in that fight. And then the third fight he kind of steamrolled DC and kind of put a cumulative understanding of what he learned in the first 2 fights and just really displayed it in the third one. But it was the amount of damage that he took in those fights, the eye pokes, all of the mental back, the verbal back and forth, and just that mental pressure and everything like that, that ages you as a fighter, and you only can, have so many of those kind of fights in you before it's just over, no matter who you are. And I think Stipe, that trilogy probably definitely took a lot out of him.
And we close the book on Stipe and we focus on what's next for Francis. Do you think how you go from just in any combat sport, you get the belt to a mega fight, and we got just the elephant in the room because you know him very well, Mr. Jones. How you see that happening for business? Or do you think that Derek Lewis should get the shot? Because I actually one of the few people that think that fight was way more telling than people realize, because that's the only person we see stand in front of Francis directly and live to tell about it, and he didn't pull the trigger, and he has the power to knock him out. So it's a very interesting thing, but we already know what box office is for the UFC.
Yeah, and one thing I remember asking Scott Coker. When Scott Coker, I asked him, why did he put the Romero fight and AJ fight together right away? And he said, listen, I learned the one thing in the sport, when you have two matchups that people want to see, you put them together right away, just because you don't know what can happen in the sport, and that's the same thing when I think about the Stipe and John Jones fight. You want to put both of those guys together again, because you don't know if it's going to happen. You don't know how long that opportunity is going to be open for. Now, John kind of threw me off a little bit because his reaction to the fight was an odd one. You know what I'm saying? He said something. He
started talking about money. He started talking like be a UFC Mayweather or something.
Yeah, he said, "Show me the money." That "show me the money" was a weird comment, because here's the reality of the situation. John Jones has already put himself in a position where he doesn't have that negotiating tool. He's given up the belt at 205. He's already put on a ton of weight and a ton of size to fight at to fight at heavyweight. So right now, he's already in a position where it's either he's got to go for it. He's got to fight. He's got to fight Francis. And he doesn't have the same bargaining tool. So if I was John's team, that's something that you would kind of negotiate before you give up the belt and before you decide to make, all these changes in your diet. I mean, to me, it seems kind of, backwards for him to now be saying, show me the money. Show me the money was when he was a UFC, the 205 champion, you know what I'm saying? And then deciding to go up. I don't know. Maybe sometimes John just don't say the best things. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, hopefully that fight gets done.
And this is going off script on James. Do you think he needs this for GOAT status? Because to me, he needs another belt now because it's been so many people. If you look at people on that little Mount Rushmore, DC's done it. GSP's done it. He has to get a set belt to solidify the GOAT status. I think he has to get that another belt because it was that easy to do. Everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think he definitely needs this, and I think he needs this. Because unlike anybody else, John Jones has kind of messed up his reputation a bit with some of the things that he's done outside of the octagon. It's kind of put a bad taste in people's mouth, and I think that with a fight like this, with Francis, providing he goes out there and he has a great fight and he gets a win, that would really show people that John Jones. Even though he did have those blemishes in his career, he is the GOAT because, not only did he go up, he went in there and beat, someone who everyone was afraid of. And he's put on a lot of weight and he's able to take the power, but more importantly, he's got the smarts to get it done. So, I think he needs this. I think he definitely needs this. It'll definitely put that feather in the cap, but I mean, already accomplished, John already has such a great accomplished career. There's really not much that he needs to do, but at the same time, he does. You know what I'm saying? So John Jones has a weird dynamic in that respect. You know what I'm saying? There's no doubt about it. He's probably the best fighter to ever put on those 4-ounce gloves, but at the same time, with the blemishes, with the potential asterisks next to some of those wins, it kind of knocks him down a bit.
And one thing that's a bit of an interesting factor in this, potential Ngannou-Jones fight, and now we talked about Derek Lewis as well, because Dana's pretty much said if Jones isn't going to take the fight or they don't come to an agreement, Derek Lewis will be the next fighter. They have the same manager. Like, how awkward is that with Jones, being with first round as well as Derek Lewis? That's got to put the management company, in a bit of an odd spot because obviously John wants to get paid, but Derek, I'm sure, he's not going to sit around if he's been given this opportunity against Ngannou. So how do you think that'll play out?
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because, with the first round management, they have to look out for their clients and helping one actually hurts the other, right? In some respects. So it's a very delicate line that they have to walk. But, I think that it's something that it can be easily worked out. And especially since the fact that, John already comes in with so much respect and he comes in with so much of just the red carpet as far as like he gets the first crack at the title, and even even Derek Lewis is even understanding of that in himself. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they will definitely get John the fight, but it will be it's going to be an odd one, and it is they are in an odd position as a management team.
And then we talked about Stipe, whether it was, just him, maybe losing a step, or was it just that Francis was so dominant? We really won't know until the next fight. Do you think he fights again? I mean, do you get that sense that Stipe's, ready to just, he has a family? Is this the end of the road, or do you see him taking another fight and, trying to get a win? Because I know it's very tough to do that in MMA, is retire off a win.
I would say that it's hard to lose. It's hard to walk away in a loss, and especially a loss like that. But I wouldn't be mad if Stipe walked away. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't be mad just because, Stipe has already like exceeded so much when it comes to just being that Hall of Fame fighter, that one of the best heavyweights of all time, if not the best heavyweight of all time. And there's really not much for him to prove. He's got a great job with the fire department. He's made a ton of money with the UFC. He probably didn't even spend any of his money with the UFC because he, lives in Cleveland. Everything is free. He's a firefighter. He's probably still living off his firefighter money. You know what I'm saying? He's probably got like a $6,000 house, but it's probably worth like 1.5 million anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Stipe don't have, much to prove in his game anymore. You know what I'm saying? And here's another thing, is that once you fought at the highest and highest of levels, it gets so hard to downgrade that to fight somebody else. You just don't get that same feeling inside of you. So you take Stipe, who's coming from fights with DC, a trilogy with DC, and then with Francis, all these last 4 fights were super high profile, and even before that, it's hard to just go and fight somebody else just for contentionship, or maybe to mount a comeback. You know what I'm saying? If Stipe was going to do a fight, I would say his next fight would have to be a rematch.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll see what he decides to do there. And the other thing is, like, who would Stipe fight at this point? Like, to me, I think it's going to be a domino effect. Whatever happens with Jones and Ngannou, if Jones doesn't take it, then Lewis gets that spot. You've got Alexander Volkov, you've got Cyril Gahn, you've got Rosenstruik, you've got Curtis Blades. Where do you see, because I don't think I don't think he can hold out and get another shot at Francis or the winner of Francis and Jones. Do you see him fighting one of those fighters, or do you think he waits on the sidelines and says, look, I'm the greatest heavyweight ever, I deserve a trilogy fight?
I think if I was him, I would wait on the sidelines and maybe get a trilogy fight. Because here's the thing about it: like, if he puts himself in a position to fight any of the up and coming guys like a Cyril Gahn and stuff like that, he just puts himself in a position to be a stepping stone, for them to make some money off of his name, or to make their name off of his name, right? So with Stipe, I would just say, you know what, if you can get the rematch, get the rematch. But if not, then I would call it, because at this point, it gets really hard to fight from that position. And if you don't like, after he's been a champion for a long time, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have that burning feeling to just go in there and compete again and try to, climb that mountain again, then don't even do it, because there's a difference when you step into a cage where somebody who's never been there and they really want it versus somebody who's been there before and they've already had it. You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference on intensity and even mindset when you're in a cage with that opponent.
Switching gears, staying with the retirement thing, I hate to say it, but it seemed like Father Time tapped on our man Tyron Woodley's shoulder on Saturday night.
Yeah, it definitely did, man. And it was almost too bad, to be honest, because I thought, like, if he would have maybe had this aggression a little bit earlier in some of the fights where he was starting to have that skid, then he wouldn't be in his position right now. I think the 3 previous fights before this, he didn't have that aggression. And this fight, he came out with a lot of aggression, but he paid for that aggression, being a little bit too aggressive and got caught in the end. But, at the end of the day, Father Time catches up with us all. He's 38 years old, and these up and coming guys, now it's their time. And if you can't compete with the Luques and the top of the mountain, then, there's really nothing left, and it's unfortunate because I always got love for T Wood, but here's the thing with T Wood is, like, he was like, I love T Wood, but he was always hard to, like, give advice to. You know what I'm saying? You ever meet somebody who know every damn thing?
You got that kid folk that don't want to listen. You talking with the old head, and they don't want to listen to you.
You ever meet somebody who just know every damn thing, right? She's like, all right, man, you got it. But I just hope that T Wood, he finding his way, man. I know he will.
How fighters, like, with your great career, and then you going down a similar road that Tyron went through, like, you've walked his shoes.
Yeah, I did.
Directly, indirectly. When you tell fighters like that, do they, like, respond usually to that as somebody that they know you got the plaque, they know you got the belt, they know you break down this sport even though you're not in it. So you're like a wealth of knowledge, like, you're like a free encyclopedia. Why would nobody not want to listen to you?
I mean, some people listen, but that's the thing about it. It's the same thing like listening to your mom's advice. You don't really listen to it until you living through it. A lot of things in life, it needs to be lived through, and those bumps on the head, store bought sense is the best sense in the world. You know what I'm saying? When you get that store bought sense, you pay for that lesson, and it's not the same as having it given to you. So I try to help people out when I see them, like, some things that I could, that I went through, but at the same time, when people gotta experience things, they gotta go through it, they gotta understand why you're telling them that in order to really have a true appreciation for why you're telling them it, and that's the case with Tyron Woodley. He just couldn't put it together when it came down to it. To be honest, the truth of the matter was he was his own worst enemy. He was his biggest opponent.
Well, what's your whole take on the entire card? Because we had a lot of high smoke action that went down on Saturday night that I think surprised a lot of people. The card was better than what people thought, at least to me. It was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was a great card, man. A great card. A lot of great finishes, and I love to see the guys go out there and try to perform and try to put on it and try to compete each other to get that knockout bonus. It's always fun when you got a couple of knockouts and everybody's like, hey, Danny, can I get the knockout bonus? You know what I'm saying? That means they're competing with each other. So that's going to be exciting night of fights. But you know who really stuck out to me was Sugar Sean. Sugar Sean was looking really, really good. I mean, you know, technically speaking, this kid is off the chain. Like when you see him do his movement inside the cage, he's super smooth, super confident, has great poise, has great timing, great reaction, and just has that it factor. I'm really excited to see what this kid can do with some next level competition. But he's got to have next level competition. You know what I'm saying? Not putting anything against anybody that he's winning against, but at the same time, you know, this kid, you can see he's just head and shoulders against everybody he's been matched up against, you know, apart from Chito Vera, of course. But you know, it's time for him to take that step up. And you know, the truth of the matter is, I would like to see him fight Chito Vera again. But you know what I found interesting, though? What I found very interesting is that after he had that great performance, he didn't say nothing about Chito. He didn't say nothing like he didn't call out Chito. And that kind of I don't know, man. That kind of struck me as weird. I wouldn't want to say he's afraid, but at the same time, it was just like one of those things. Like, I wonder why.
I think he feels he's ahead of Chito at this point. Chito's 15. He just lost to Aldo. I think he's got his sights set higher. We saw Dominic Cruz say that he'd be interested in fighting him. That might be a bit too much of a step up, but we'll see. I mean, I think O'Malley, knowing his clout, I think he could get a fight like that. Honestly,
I don't think Dominic Cruz want that. He don't want that noise. Dominic Cruz don't want that at this stage of the game.
Cruz has said he's interested. He actually came out and said it. Yeah.
I think that's a good fight, and I think it'd be a great fight to see Cruz in that capacity again, right? To see if he can pass that test, because the truth of the matter is, like, when it comes to just straight up intelligent fighters who understand the game and understand there's so many of the nuances and the subtleties of the game, there's no one better than Dominic Cruz. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be a true graduation for Sugar Sean if he can get past the Dominic Cruz. You know what I'm saying? Dana White could have a cap and gown walking into the cage and show him if he graduated, if he beat Dominic Cruz, because that would be the level that he'd be graduating to if he does beat a guy like Dominic Cruz. And it's crazy to see, like, these guys from the Contender Series are now growing to be these true contenders, man. It's an interesting process.
Before we let you go, Rashad, I know we're out of time. I saw you training with Greg Hardy. Obviously, not the outing he wanted in his last fight. How's Greg looking, and when can we expect him to see him back in the cage? Because I think it's still a work in progress with him. I don't think people should be writing him off right now.
Yeah, definitely don't write him off. We've been working, and that's the best thing about that last fight with that he lost with Tabora was the fact that it allowed him to see the holes that he needed. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing like a loss I can get you to see the areas where you need to work on. And I must say, he's been super dedicated to just, wanting to learn and wanting to just get better in all of his deficiencies in the game. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that is going to pay off huge dividends for him, because he's putting in that grind work. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's training alongside Justin Willis, and Justin Willis has that great grappling base and a great wrestling base. So they've been working with each other, exchanging skills and just kind of helping each other grow in that capacity. And when you look to grow in anything, you want to have somebody who can definitely challenge you on a daily basis. And now he has a training partner in Justin Willis who can definitely make his skill level rise. So I think the sky is a limit with a guy like Greg Hardy, who's just now starting to understand more what it means to be a mixed martial artist. He's coming from that football background, and that football background has a certain mental conditioning that is just so much different from fighting, that you have to thaw away a lot of those things in order to kind of start bringing out what's really underneath. And I think now we're starting to see what's underneath the hood of Greg Hardy.
Love it,
Rashad. Final question. My final question for me, Rashad, is what's we see you everywhere, man. You still looking good. Look like you can still fight. See you on TV. Y'all doing a hell of a job, you and Karen. What's next for Sugar? And how excited are you to see fans? Yours truly to be out there in Jacksonville, April 24th. My God, okay. They had to let my man in the border. He's over in Canada.
Yeah, I'm stuck in Canada.
Oh man, you're stuck in Canada. Dang, Trudeau got you. Trudeau got you. Trudeau, let him free, Trudeau.
Yeah, yeah. We got to get Trudeau on the phone and get me over there. So I'm stuck here in Vancouver, but I'll be the second the borders open up. I'll be there joining my buddy Kendrick. So
two more questions. What lies for you in the future? How excited are you to get back live fans? And like I was telling somebody the other day, I was at a sports bar watching the Stipe get knocked out. I was at Stipe DC3. That deserved the crowd. That Francis knocked out deserved the crowd. So I'm ready to see these fights that deserve the crowd get their moment.
Oh man, I'm excited to see the fans come back. I mean, we do what we do because we love to do it, but at the same time, we do it for the fans. You know, there's just a different kind of energy in the building when the fans are there and when they're just, just feeding off them. When you walking out and you see the fans and you just hear them, it's just an energy thing. And when the fight is happening, you can have momentum based off of how what they're saying to you. When I fought Forrest Griffin, Forrest is about to finish me, but because they started screaming and yelling, it motivated me. I found a win. I found like the energy to keep going. When Rampage almost knocked me out in the third round, they were screaming and yelling, but I found the energy like the Hulk, and I rose up. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fans. So you got to be able to feed off the fans, and being able to have the fans there is something I think the fighters are going to like. But more importantly, it's a step to normalizing things again. We've had a very tough year and a half, and being able to have a sense of normality again, that life is going to go back to how it used to be. It will be huge for people. It will send so much to the spirit of people, and that's one thing I like about what the UFC has done throughout this whole time. They've been the leaders getting the fights back, pretty much showing all the other professional sports how to do it. And now they take another step forward, being the leaders and bringing live fans back, be the first one to bring the live fans back. So shout out to UFC to always keep on, innovating and keep on finding a way to set the standard of what should be when it comes to professional sports. As far as me, what I plan on doing, I don't know, man. I'm just enjoying where I'm at right now. I'm enjoying the process, and I'm not looking to where the finish line may be, if there even is a finish line. I'm just enjoying the day to day. I enjoy analyzing fights, and I'm enjoying working with my fighters. So whatever God brings for me, then I'll do.
And we appreciate you coming on, Rashad. Great first guest to kick off this new podcast we're doing. We can't thank you enough, man. Enjoy the rest of your day, and appreciate it.
Thank you.
There we go. We're back. How about that for a first guest, huh, Kendrick?
With the game swinging. I told you behind the scenes, we weren't playing. I'm not playing.
No, came out strong. Great stuff there from Rashad. A lot of good insight. I like what he had to say about, Tyron Woodley. And that's something I didn't even consider, is that, they've obviously talked and trying to give him some advice. And Woodley, he's an old head, right? He's, hard to change your old ways, but great stuff there from Sugar Rashad Evans. Anything else you took out from that? I mean, I think really good insight there from UFC 260.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I watched the fight. I didn't pay attention to that. It's like he had me thinking in the interview. But the Rashad, the Tyron thing, I'm gonna say it's sad, but I know some people that know him just as good as Rashad that said the same thing. Like one particular guy told me 3 years ago, this is gonna be Tyron in 3 years, and then that happened. And the same individual sits there. He told me, I talked to him on Sunday. He's like, guess who called me yesterday?
Yeah,
so it's kind of like he had multiple people trying to look out for him. Rashad said, he just didn't want to listen. And when it comes to Sean O'Malley, I think I'm completely different. That was a great performance. Can you do that against a Dominic Cruz? Can you do that against somebody with the bigger? If he does that than that, I would say he's a rob. I can't. People want to know if this guy's a star because he has some swag and he's flashy. That don't mean shit. Do it against a top 5 fighter. I'm not saying he don't got no potential. I'm not saying he can't fight. I got to see a little bit more before I annoy him. He's on that right path. But for me, he takes a lot of chances that are unnecessary that get people like, it's kind of like you're at the bar and your wife talking to a guy because, he's got some swag. I'm going to pay attention to him. Everybody's paying attention to him because he's got swag. I need a little more substance. That's just me. But props to him. Hell of a performance. Got him up out of there twice.
No, absolutely. If you guys have any questions, I was going to say, if you guys have any questions, post them in the chat here. We'll answer them on air. But in the meantime, do you think Woodley fights again? We haven't really talked about that. Do you think he competes again, or do you think that's it for him?
I think he competes like maybe one more time, but I don't think it's going to be in the UFC.
No, it's definitely not in the UFC. Dana White pretty much saying he didn't say as much. He kind of just said, kind of his thoughts were basically that, he's looking to move ahead there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Woodley. I think he might go to PFL, to be honest. You look at Anthony Pettis, he went over there. He's trying to win that $1 million. He might have a chance. You never know. But I think, the Woodley that we saw was a champion is that Woodley no longer exists anymore.
That guy would have won that fight with it. He would have beat him to the punch. Because if you really want to go back to way back symmetry, that was almost the same sequence with him and Robbie, except for he was on the other end.
Yeah.
It was almost the same exact sequence. But as you know, in combat sports, that twitch, have you look at them lights or have you jump on top of the cage? You look at them damn lights. But back to Sean O'Malley, that kill shot was gangster shit. He walks up to my man, wow, and just walked off, kind of like being like having a gun.
Because he knew he had to finish. No, for sure. I think with O'Malley, there's two options I said that I think will work for him. You give him, the kid's gloves treatment, which is, fight half of El Sun Sao. Sun Sao, we saw him got knocked out by Cody Garbrandt in his last fight. I think the best Sun Sao is past his prime. He's a ranked guy. You build him up. That's a win for O'Malley. I think if he fights a Sun Sao now, I would favor him over a Sun Sao. So that you could go that route, or you get a little bit more creative. Marlon Moraes. That's a guy that, is going to bring it to him. He's got knockout power. Can O'Malley take a Marlon Moraes punch? Moraes has been knocked out in back-to-back fights. It's a crossroads fights for both guys. If O'Malley beats Moraes, he's a contender immediately. If he loses, hey, Moraes has still got more iron in the tank, so to speak. And, O'Malley maybe, too much of a step up. But like I was telling Rashad, I don't think you do the Chito Vera rematch. There's nothing. Vera's coming off a loss. He's 15. O'Malley's got his sights set a little bit higher than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but there's a reason he didn't mention that name though, because I know in the boxing game, Gary Russell, he's a multi-time world champion. He lost to Lomachenko about 3 years ago. Every interview he sees, Mr. Lomachenko, I'm coming from you, Mr. Lomachenko, because he wants that fight back. I think there's a reason besides money that he's not calling that. I don't think he wants that style. I'm not saying he's scared, because the Sugar Show is definitely not scared, but I don't think he wants that style because it's basically like he's not going to look good regardless of what happens.
Since we actually recorded that Rashad interview, John Jones now coming out saying, cut me, he's basically fed up with this whole negotiation with the money thing. Kind of like Rashad mentioned in the interview, why was this not negotiated before this fight in terms of the money and all that? I know, it's easier said than done, but it is kind of interesting that, obviously the UFC's, we know the Dana playbook here. He's saying that John's scared because he obviously John wants too much money, but John, I think, deserves what he should be asking for. It's kind of a tough situation, but Kendrick, if I'm being honest here, I think they're going to move along from John Jones and give him Derek Lewis. I think that's going to happen. I think there's too much at play here.
Yeah, John Jones is the A side though. Let's get it right. I know there's not really an A side and B side in MMA, but he would be the A side. But I actually want to see the Derek fight because who has stood in front of Francis and lived to tell about it? Because Stipe, he won the fight, but he didn't stand in front of him the first time. Derek stood in front of him the whole 15 minutes. Like, it was a boring fight. There's a reason he wasn't pulling that trigger because he had somebody on the other end that had almost just as much power as he did, and we don't know about his chin because just because you're a great knockout artist does not mean you have a great chin. We have not seen that yet.
On the flip side, though, I'd say Curtis Blades was winning that first round against Lewis. Blades just did, he went for a takedown, made a mistake. Lewis was doing an uppercut. You're out cold. And I'm with you there. I think Lewis has probably the second best knockout power in that division outside of Francis. I think Francis hits a little bit harder. But, we'll see. Francis looked amazing on Saturday.
But did you hear Stipe? You see, I know he let everybody know he's okay and thank his fans for support. But something he said was he was already gassing, and I think he was too. But we don't know because he didn't get out the second round. So, but if that's the case, one thing Derek Lewis does not do now that in the last year or so since he had that back surgery, his cardio has been on point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we haven't seen Francis still. We don't have the answer as to how his cardio is because we haven't seen him go past, in this case, the second round, right? So,
well, three rounds because we did see him go 5 with Stipe.
Yeah. Well, he did. But I mean, like, that was the problem was that Stipe just took over as the fight went on, right? So,
yeah. That last 3 rounds, Francis wasn't there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just trying to think of some other things from 260. Yeah, we talked about Woodley. We talked about the main event. We got that UFC 261 pay-per-view coming up here pretty soon. We haven't had a chance to
be there. I'll be there.
You're going to be there on the front line. What do you think of Usman and Masvidal? Because I don't see it going any different.
I don't think it's gonna. I think Kamaru wins by decision, but I think it's gonna be way, way tighter. Both of these guys are students of the game, and they're not gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, the fact that Masvidal will get a full camp, that is interesting, but I think just a style matchup. I mean, Usman's striking is on point. He took a nice shot from Gilbert Burns in his last fight. He still moved forward. Like, how do you beat Usman is my question.
But I will say this though, if Jorge gets him in that same position, Jorge's an assassin. He gets his ass up out of there though.
Masvidal's very durable.
He made a little bit of an amateur mistake. He rushed up in there. Jorge's not going to do that.
No.
He's going to come as a straight assassin.
So Jorge's going to get taken down. That's the problem. He can always go to that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Jorge has a puncher's chance for sure.
He does. Yeah. But I don't know. The puncher's chance against a guy who's never been knocked out. I mean, that's tough, right? So we'll see.
He got wobbled last fight, though.
He did, but he's still. That's just it. He wobbled. He was good. You know, the guy's in his prime right now. So we'll see how that happens. So that fight's going to be taking place on April 24th.
I think he's an underrated champion. People don't talk about him being pound for pound. He should be in the top 3 any list you look at. But
pound for pound, 100%. Greatest welterweight of all time, though. I don't know if I'm there yet, man. Because you look at a guy like GSP. That's my whole thing when it comes to the GOAT talk. Is you got to have defended your title a number of times. Like that's my whole issue with Khabib. Khabib's great. He might be one of the best fighters ever. He only defended his title a handful of times. So
Khabib can be on your Mount Rushmore, but he can't be GOAT.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And the new thing to be GOAT, you need to have multiple belts. Like I said about John Jones, it was that easy to do. Everybody be fucking doing it.
Yeah,
right. That's why it's hard. You can say, "Oh, Conor got lucky." It was that easy to have 2 belts at the same time. Everybody would be doing it. So that's why I think John Jones. I'm kind of like with the asterisks and stuff. Him beating Francis takes away that asterisk, in my book.
No, I'm with you there. What do you think of this pay-per-view coming up? So it's Usman and Masvidal, it's Weili Zhang and Rose Namajunas. You've got Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Andrade, and you've got Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall, and you've got Anthony Smith and Jimmy Crute. That's a pretty strong main card. Like that I think that is actually stronger than the card we had last weekend. I mean, they're definitely stacking the deck for this return. You're going the whole week, right? You're going to go Tuesday to whatever day. Yeah.
Have you been there for a 3 fight in person, a 3 title fight? I was there in New York.
Yeah, for the one for
give me one for the numbers. It was like 217. It was when Rose whooped Joanna. That was my first.
I remember that. You fell asleep at the press conference. Do you remember that?
It was recorded, bro. And I had to take a 5 a.m. flight to Dallas. I was
that's one thing. Kendrick and I know each other from events. We've covered I don't know how many events together, but that was one I remember because listen, it doesn't even matter where you lived. If you're going to go cover a card in New York, you're not sleeping, especially if you have an early flight. Like that was the same thing. Actually, I don't think I told you this story, but after that press conference, so I went back to my hotel room. I literally just packed my stuff. I had a car service to take me to the airport. So, I'm tired. Like I think I even fell asleep in the car on the way to the airport. I got in a car accident. My driver ran into someone. Someone had on one of those bridges had stopped. The guy rear-ended him. I was fine. It was just a little thing, but the first thing that goes through my head is am I going to make my flight? Hopefully this is all good, but but everything was fine. It wasn't that bad, but that's what woke me up was I woke up and the guy's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, we crashed." It wasn't anything bad, but it was just man, it's some drunk driver apparently. So
that was Brooklyn though. That was Brooklyn. That was
Brooklyn. Yeah.
That was Holly Home because that night it was the MSG. Joanna got her ass beat. TJ beat Cody and GSP. It was pretty cool to see.
Oh, GSP you're talking 217 because I was with you that Brooklyn card as well.
Yeah, those 3 belts. It was 3 new champions.
We were at I was thinking of the Habib and
the Barclays. Yeah, with the Barclays Center.
Yeah, that was a good one too. I wasn't at 217 because my son was born in September, so I couldn't go. I missed that, and I missed Maymac that same year. It was a bummer.
Oh, I went to both.
I know. Of course, you're everywhere.
Mayback was crazy because of just the atmosphere. Because I went to Mayweather Pacquiao. To this day, that's still the biggest sports event I've been to in my life. I'm talking about within 5 minutes, I didn't sit there and shook Tom Brady's hand, got a hug from Oprah and Gayle King, and then saw Martin Scorsese.
You met Oprah? You never told me this. You met Oprah?
Check out the Facebook and IG. I interviewed Oprah. I did a production thing with Oprah behind the scenes a few years ago, so that's how I
learning something more about you every day. That's why we're friends. This is actually the real reason we're doing the show, so we can learn more about each other, really, because this is something I didn't know. So there you go, man.
To educate these fans, because I get tired of these message boards, especially in the boxing side. Everything's about race, and then the MMA side, everybody overlooks everything technical. Some people are not technical; they're just better than people. Because the way Francis fight, you're not going to teach somebody to fight how Francis fight. But he got that ridiculous He-Man power to knock your ass next week. That's why he could get away with that. Because his footwork was very choppy to me. Yeah. But he got that one hitter quitter. You saw what happened to Stipe. It was crazy because it was a left. That shows you how much power that.
Yeah,
man
no, I noticed that
That's
too.
what-
And Stipe kind of just ran into it as well, like we were talking with Rashad.
He didn't
was
see
just
it
like-
coming.
Yeah, no,
I think that's why we have to meme fall. Like I feel bad for him, man. He didn't see it coming. I think that's why.
No, he did. I don't think Stipe fights again. I think this might be it. Because I just don't know what. Like, I still don't think he's gonna. I think if he waits out, he's not gonna get the immediate winner of the title fight. I just don't see that happening. Just because of the way he lost. I think if you like, it was different with when he lost to Cormier because it was just so quick. It was like, you know, he got caught, whatever, it's fine. But this one, like, he actually, like, I don't think he was ever in the fight. I mean, it was all Francis in that fight. Am I looking at that wrong?
No, he was very timid. Like he had no offense in the first round. Like he's throwing out T kicks like he in training. Like he was in spar mode and Francis was in kill mode. And we saw how that ended up. Didn't work out for him.
Yeah. And then I don't know when Francis is going to fight. This is something I didn't get a chance to ask Rashad, but I mean, I got to think he's going to take some time off. I think summer's a little early, to be honest. I almost feel like we're going to see him fight again maybe in the fall because he just won this title. He's probably going to, you know, I would imagine would want to go back to Cameroon. I don't know. Is that I haven't heard anything yet. But I would imagine.
Did you see a cool video on Bleacher Report when they had like all the African people? Like,
I saw that. Yeah, that's great.
That's pretty cool. And but I might try to get the guy that has that answer on the show, Mr. Eric Nixon.
There we go. Thinking of
behind the scenes, Mr. Eric Nixon. Props to that man. That man there, his system. People can say, "Oh, it's overrated." He got two people that when they came to him, they were not world champions. They got belts around their waist right now. So that man doing something right. So salute to him.
No, great work. Not just Francis, but we said Dan Ige a few weeks ago get that quick knockout. That whole gym is firing on all cylinders right now.
Aljamain, I think Aljamain. I'm not gonna say he's not wanting to see Peter Yan, but when they do see each other again, because they're gonna have to fight.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a completely different fight. I guarantee you that. They'll be ready for it.
We'll see. We got to see when that's actually going to get rebooked. We haven't heard any news on that. What else is going on in the news right now? We're hearing McGregor, Poirier 3, July. Let me just bring up the tweet from Ariel Hawani.
July going to be fire because I got my boxing people telling me that there's rumor that Top Rank is trying to make a Pacquiao and Crawford. That'd be a hell of a fight. I don't know if this is a joke or not, but De La Hoya claimed he's coming back July 3rd.
I was going to ask you about that. Did you see? He says he wants to fight. He's going to fight a UFC fight.
I know De La Hoya's people very well, and one of them he ain't called me back, but I need to check in with him.
Well, who do you think it is? Who's he going to? It's going to be an ex-UFC fighter.
I have no idea what they got doing.
What do you think Oscar would compete at? What weight class? How many pounds do you think he'll fight at?
160.
Okay, so basically like a 155 or. Trying to think.
That'd be crazy if he fought Habib. That would be crazy shit right there. That'd be crazy. But tell me this: when he retired, you know, talk about contracts and management. Yeah. So when Habib retired, could he do that without Dana White and having? Because like you know how Dana, people don't realize. You know, with Conor, Dana and them basically made a deal. That's why I knew Conor. Remember when we got into the hiatus? Oh, he's not coming back. He had to come back and fight 2 UFC fights.
Yeah,
that was part of the deal that people didn't know.
Well, I don't think Habib can take it because of his contract. Because it's the same thing with Miesha Tate, right? Miesha Tate's coming back. She can't go fight for one championship who she's worked for because she still has fights left on her UFC contract. I think those contracts are like ironclad. Like once you sign, like I don't know how many fights Habib had left, but I imagine like if he wanted to compete again, it would have to be for the UFC.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. Don't quote me on that, but yeah.
Rashad alluded to a fight that I was interested to see. A guy I'm trying to get on the show, Anthony Rumble Johnson and Yoel Romero. That's going to be interesting because you got the long delay, you got the old, we don't know how 47-year-old Cuban. That was the funniest shit ever when he fought Israel.
Yeah, no, it was.
But how do you think that fight's going to go? That's a big ass question mark.
Yoel's winning that fight. Come on, man. More active. You got to remember, Yoel, if he was still in the UFC,
he'll be active in the fight though. He fights.
Yeah, he had one bad. Okay, but in general, he has one bad fight, right, against Adesanya. But outside of that, Romero's been pretty exciting for the most part, and he's a guy that comes forward. I don't know what happened with that fight. It's no different than Francis and Derek Lewis. That was not a good fight either. Sometimes you put two, explosive guys together, you get very tentative for whatever reason. I think Romero Rumble is going to be very exciting. I think they're both going to come forward. But if I'm picking a fighter, I have to take Romero because I've seen Romero in the last couple of years, and he still can compete at a high level. He's fighting guys like Paulo Costa and Adesanya. Rumble, last fought DC in Buffalo. And I know that because I was there for that fight. He got choked out. I think it was in the second round. Granted, it's DC's losing too. Rumble, it's one of two ways it goes with Rumble. Either he wins early and he knocks you out like he's done with most of his opponents, or he ends up losing. That's usually like, you never see Rumble really go the distance. It's more of like, I'm in or I'm out. And we know Romero's got a chin on him. Like he can take a punch. So
yeah, but can he take a Rumble punch though?
That's true.
You saw, I think DC said the hardest he's ever been hit was by Rumble, and he probably took a third of that punch because he windmilled it from left field and he glazed him and he still staggered him. So imagine if you catch him flush though.
Well, but then I mean, like I said, Rumble last fought in April of 2017. So we're talking almost what? My math's not great. Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Like, is that same power going to be there with him being a little bit? How old is he now? Let me just double check here. He's 37, dude. Come on. Like, I know Romero's old.
Come on. Yoel's like 44. That's
he's the exception to the rule. He's the exception to the rule. Come on.
If he's fighting anybody else, I would agree with you. But he's fighting 44-year-old Yoel.
Here's the thing with Yoel, though. Yoel still beats most guys in that top 5. Like, I don't know, that Paulo Costa fight, I mean, you know, that was sort of one I think he could have done a bit better, but he's still beating most guys in that division, I think, anyways. But we'll see. But also, you know, it is interesting, Yoel moving up a weight class. I do wonder if he might even look better because he's not cutting that extra weight.
Yeah, because like he about to fall out on that scale where he'd be looking crazy.
How many times did he miss weight? He would have won the title against Rockhold. Remember the interim title, but he missed weight. Remember he knocked him out.
He's such a god, bro. That guy is hilarious. I remember the day.
Have you interviewed him? You've interviewed him, haven't you? In the scrum.
How you doing, my friend?
Yeah.
He's like Canelo. He knows more English than what he leads on.
No, of course. Yeah. I've seen him speak pretty good English. And then there's other times he's got his translator and it's just like, yeah. So you know what's up. But good signing there for both.
Mackenzie Dern in English.
What's that? Who Mackenzie Dern, you said?
Yeah, because I've never seen somebody that's from Arizona that needs a translator.
So that's crazy. He doesn't need a translator. Here's the thing. Listen. I'm with most fans. I think it's a little ridiculous, but I will mention this. Like, if you're used to speaking one language, your accent does change. That's why I kind of defend her. But like, for example, I know a girl that I grew up with here. I'm from Vancouver, Canadian, regular Canadian accent. She's lived in Australia for like, I don't know, 10 years. She doesn't have a Canadian. She has an Australian accent now. So I can understand that because once you're used to being around certain people and you're talking a certain way all the time, like for her, I know she lives in the US, I know she's from Arizona, I know she lives in California, but she speaks Portuguese with her husband, who's Brazilian, and she speaks Portuguese, I think, with people at her gym. So that's probably why the accents, and her parents they speak Portuguese as well. So that, not that I'm a Mackenzie Dern, fan, or you know what I mean? Like, but I do understand why her accent has changed over the years. But you're right, it is very weird.
She got to get the hand. If somebody going to challenge Valentina, they're going to have hands and have like an ace skill set, which we know her ace skill set, just to have a chance. Because as good as Valentina is, she could get in a crazy position and come some crazy submission and win or something like that. You never know.
Well, Dern's at 115, right? So that Valentina Valentina's at 125.
She's not moving up though.
No. She's 115. She got the weight cut all figured out. She's actually fighting Nina Ansaroff, who's Amanda Nunes' wife. And Nina's pretty legit.
Yeah, Nina's top 5. That reminds me, I got another guest I need to reach out to. That my favorite 115 fan. Shout out to my girl Tatiana. I'll be calling you, Tatiana.
Yeah, she's unfortunately injured for more than a year, right? She hurt her neck in the Chicago fight. Yeah, when she fought Nina in that one. So it wasn't Nina. Yeah, it was Nina that she fought in that one. Yeah. So
because she been hurt and Nina had a kid.
That's right.
That fight.
Yeah. So we'll see. It'll be kind of interesting to see. Yeah, Tatiana to me is that the sleeper in that division. It's just she needs to get healthy, and if she's not healthy, then I mean, hopefully it's because she's, like I said, she's been off for that fight in Chicago, UFC 238 was June of 2019. So think how long she's been out for.
About 2 years.
Yeah.
Here's something to switch gears on you. What you think about the Bellator rankings that came out? And can that chick that's at strawweight, do you think she could compete with Valentina? I've never seen her fight, and I looked up her age and I saw her competition. I'm like, no, I don't need to see you fight. You can't be Valentina.
But let me look at the Bellator rankings. I actually haven't seen them because I've been.
It just came out like around 12 o'clock. I got a random email.
Yeah. I'm looking at it here. Okay, so pound for pound, don't disagree there. Women's pound for pound, don't disagree there. Men's heavy. Okay, so you said the strawweight. I'm trying to figure out who you're talking about here. They don't have strawweights. They have flyweights. Are you talking the champ, the Juliana Velasquez?
Yeah.
She's pretty good. She beat Alima McFarlane in her last fight. So,
but she had a Valentina. I've never seen her fight. I'm just going off of looking at her record.
No, she's good. Age. Would she beat Valentina? Probably not, but she's still very good. Yeah, it's interesting here. Some of the rankings. Yeah, it's crazy. Patricio Pitbull, the pound for pound best men's fighter. You can't argue that, man. He has a win over Chandler. He's only lost 4 fights, and all those fights were
I like him. I like him a lot.
Interviewed him yesterday with his translator. He's a great guy.
Okay.
Saw him fight at the Forum. He fought Juan Archuleta a couple of years ago in LA. That was a good card.
So I'll admit, full disclosure, I don't really watch Bellator. So who do you think for Bellator could pull a Michael Chandler and come in and make some noise and make a run at UFC?
That's the guy you got to keep an eye on. That kid is unreal. So if Pitbull wins on Friday,
how old is he?
He's like 24, I think.
He didn't know all that at 24. He made a champ and all that. He's that young.
I think he's 20. He's 25, but he's 17-0. And the thing is, man, he's got some good wins. He beat Darion Caldwell. He beat Karhakian. Like he's legit. Like I'm very curious to see how the winner of Friday's fight goes, against AJ McKee. Because here's the thing, Kendrick. Every fight we see something different from him, and he's nothing like his dad. You know, Antonio McKee used to fight in the UFC. His dad was a wrestler. AJ's like, he does everything. He's got good jujitsu. He's got good stand up. I mean, I saw him flatline Karhakian in LA in like, I forget how many seconds. How long was that fight? I was there. It was 8 seconds. He knocked out Georgi Karhakian, who's a tough guy to finish. And he put him out in 8 seconds. Like, this kid's the real deal. He is an absolute star. He's with CAA, the same management as like Kevin Lee and St. Pierre and those guys. Like, he's going to be like a big star for Bellator, I think, if they market him properly, because he's got everything. He's got the swag. He's got an exciting fight style. He's probably him and Pitbull are probably the two biggest assets in that promotion.
Gotcha. Well, when it comes to Pitbull, his trainer, Captain, he doesn't get enough props as he should. He had 2 championships in the two biggest MMA organizations. People talk mention
that'll
that,
probably never happen again. By the way, having two champions
at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time in two different promotions, like that's such a rare stat and everything. By the way, I spoke to Pitbull yesterday. So get this, I had to ask him about Henry Cejudo. Right, he's pretty sure Henry's going to come back.
He needs some more money. I bet you too.
But the thing is the UFC going to give him that money? I don't think so, because I don't think Henry's a draw. Like he's an exciting guy to watch. He's got a different personality, right? But I don't think that translates into buys. I don't think so.
If it ain't not Conor or John Jones, who is a draw at MMA and UFC?
You're
MMA.
Right. It's very, very tough to do. But that's what I mean. I think Henry thinks he's at that level, and skill wise, sure, I'll say that. But you got to be a good self promoter as well, and that's where your Conors and your other fighters are really sort of breaking through there. It's so tough to be. Forget about MMA and boxing and combat sports in general. It's tough to be.
That's Canelo. I would say what's called probably the third biggest draw. This may be crazy in MMA is Cyborg.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Amanda Nunes is a better fighter at this stage of the career, but she's a bigger draw.
Oh, I agree. Everyone knows who Cyborg is. I talk to boxers every now and then.
I was at the ESPYs in 2018. You got people like Aaron Rodgers and some NFL dudes like they want to take a picture with her when she had the belt at UFC. Like, she's that lady. I knew she was big, but seeing them NFL dudes goon over her, it was like, wow. Yeah, no, Cyborg's the real deal, and she's a very nice lady.
No, she's awesome, and conflict of interest aside, I do a podcast.
I know a friend of a friend that could get on the show.
Oh, of course, yeah, we'll get her on for sure. But she also she's like I said, she's well versed in the boxing world as well. Like I always hear boxing promoters talk about her, and she's trained by Virgil Ortiz's dad, right? She does some work with him. Did you know that? Okay,
it all makes sense now because
she was at the Ortiz fight a couple weeks ago, right?
Because for political reasons, I didn't go because I didn't want to act up in my city. That's a whole other story. I'll tell you that out there. Some other time. Yeah. So I didn't go, but I saw she was there, and I thought she was there with one of the female fighters. So she
was there for Virgil Ortiz because he, like I said, his dad trains Chris, so that's the connection. They've trained together, and actually Virgil was one of our guests on the catch up the show I do with Chris. One of the weeks she was away, he came on and did like co-host of the show. So there's a lot of
great dude. That's a star. Yeah, like what they try to do with Sean O'Malley, that's him in boxing, except for he got more skins on the wall. That dude's legit. Yeah. Let him hit you in the rib cage one time, and you'll never forget it.
No, he's very talented. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left on the chat. We don't have any questions in, but I'm sure we will next time once we give some people some notice that we're doing this show here. I'm just trying to look at some other stuff in the news. Like I mentioned, the Conor fight. Yeah,
I'm tell the people to hit us up with ideas. We're open for anything. This is going to be an outside the box type show. It ain't
we
want
to be different, man. Of course,
we're going to be raw and uncut. So just bring it to us. We're going to give you the heat.
We are every week, man.
The
Every week we're
1-2.
going to get the guests in here. The 1-2. Yeah, we keep it simple when it comes to the podcast name. The 1-2 with James and Kendrick. It's great. This Conor McGregor fight in July. Looks like it's going to happen on International Fight Week. I'm assuming that'll be in Vegas. I don't know. Are they going to do the 3 events? I wonder, like they've done in years. Well, not
that was
3
way,
events.
That's way back in the day. That's like
I miss those days though, man. You know how much content I used to get on those days? It was crazy because like you'll be going to like a weigh-in. Yeah. So you go to the weigh-in and then you got to go to the actual fight, right? Remember, like for the other card, it was nuts. I remember doing that one a couple of years ago.
And they have like random places, like they had the one that was at the Cosmo, and then the next day it was at the MGM. The Aria MGM, and then you got the real one at the T-Mobile wasn't there then because it was 2 hotels and then MGM.
Yeah.
Any fight fan, I don't care if you like boxing or MMA, you got to see a fight in Las Vegas to really appreciate it. You can see it in your own city. You can be from a city like Chicago, but a close second is New York. New York, I don't know why. In boxing or MMA, every time I see New York, I see some crazy, like, did that just happen? Like the Madison Square Garden, even I know it's newer, the Barclays Center, they're both electric places to watch fights.
You didn't go to 244, right? Masvidal and Diaz, right? You didn't go to that one? I'm pretty sure you went there. That was nuts. So we had to, I'll tell you guys a little insight on this. So that was the one where Trump attended the card and they needed like crazy security. There was police officers and like roadblocks, like for blocks and blocks and blocks. It took us like an hour to get in because they had to get the police dogs to come through, like, you know, because the president's there. They were worried about the president threat. Like that was nuts. And The Rock was there. Like, man, that was like unlike anything I've ever seen before. That was crazy.
I was that interested in person because it was hype just watching it like
it was
on
cool,
TV
man.
and the sports ball. And then when he came in and did his like that, it just like, man, it felt like
Masvidal coming out with the Scarface theme, like that was so cool, man. Like that's honestly, like, to be honest, like watch a fight live. It's not like a great like viewing experience because you're constantly looking at the monitor. If they're in the corner, you can't see them. You got to look at the monitor. But just the atmosphere of being at a big fight, nothing compares to that in any sport. I don't care, football, hockey, whatever you name it. The atmosphere in an MMA fight is just unreal, especially when someone gets knocked out. It's just like, oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, I meant to a Mayweather fight, which one we know more. The Mayweather fights were ridiculous.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Canelo's is starting to get up there. It's not on there yet, but Mayweather fight was an event. But the atmosphere sets the tone. Like when Stipe, I felt bad because he didn't have no crowd, but when he comes out till I die with UGK, I'm not UGK, MGK, man, he came right to it in Dallas when he fought Alistair Overeem. You have these people that never probably know who the hell MGK is. They were just rocking with it till I die. Yeah. And then he has that little look. He be doing the stuff with his gloves.
Well, just think Habib. I mean, we didn't even get to see his last fight with the crowd. Like, imagine how like sad that is. The stupid pandemic.
Yeah, that and Stipe. I still, like I said, this Rashad Stipe DC3. That should have had a crowd.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I was there in person, but that should have had a crowd.
I agree. All right, good time to wrap up the show. We'll be back here next week at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's the time we're going to stick with. The guests, it's gonna vary in terms of who we're going to get on, but we'll try and either get them live or we'll get them pre-recorded. It just depends on the timing. It would be great to get them on live, and that way you guys can interact and ask questions, but we're going to play it by ear. Leave us a comment, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It's an easy way to support us and the show we're doing. Again, we're going to be doing this every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, let us know. Leave some comments in there. If there's any guests you guys want to see on the show, we're going to be swinging it heavy every single week here in the world of both MMA and boxing. So we're really excited about that. Kendrick, what do you got coming up this week, and where can people get a hold of you on social media?
Holler at me at Instagram and Twitter at Kendrick Johnso, not N, JOHSO, no N.
Why
and
no
this weekend
is this to separate you from the other?
No, it was Turkey.
Oh, you gotta beat that guy up and get that thing back. So.
This week I'm working on behind the scenes stuff, setting up some projects with MMA and boxing because a lot of stuff going down the pipes. Because once April gets here, it's gonna get real.
It's going to get very real. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lynch on Sports. Again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Easy way to support the channel. I got a bunch of interviews this week. I got one big one booked for Wednesday, but I never like to reveal those, Kendrick, because if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. So shit's looking good though. Got a good one on Wednesday, and I got just a ton going on. I also do the Victory Loves Company podcast every Tuesday morning with Jim West, Aspen Ladd's head coach. We're supposed to have Misha Tate on tomorrow. So excited about that. Misha making her comeback and be getting the scoop from her on all that. Also got my podcast with Chris Cyborg tomorrow as well. Check that out as well. I got a lot of stuff going on. It would take me forever to go through all of it. But in the meantime, easiest way to find us is, like I said, at Lynch on Sports for me, at Kendrick John Son, S-O, on Twitter. So there you go. It's all good. Thanks for joining us. Again, leave us some feedback. Let us know what you guys think, if there's stuff you want us to talk about or whatever. Hope you guys enjoyed Rashad Evans today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Enjoy the week off. There's no combat sports on, no MMA, I should say, on Saturday. There's Bellator on Friday, but you get a bit of a breather here this weekend. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week, and appreciate you tuning in to the inaugural episode of the 1-2 with James and Kendrick.